Okay, back to LGBT. I'm saying the no say.
All right.
Felix say Reverend Tim Fojo or any MPP and Akufo-Addo. Almost sign bill now. Can we hear say a baby Mahama against one sign. President Mahama so can say your priority. In fact, ebi mo say in fact Mate from somebody that's more kind in mood or say the victory of NDC was divinely orchestrated by God. So they may vindicate the righteousness of Nana Akufo-Addo.
Well, he may be right. That person may be right.
Yes.
Yeah. Because Obiso say, hey, I pay 2 years pass Akufo-Addo and that's MPP winning, yeah. It's about me and MPP winning,
yeah.
Because a number of acquisitions are 8 years build up, accumulated the MPP, so no. Some people said twice for 4 years, and got the next 4 years, a bay quadruple of all the 8 years acquisition because
yeah.
What people felt say MPP and 3 I think so minor boy because for 8 years NDC 4.20 picture we say as an another year some by umia de omo me dem MP NDC wo suro no musuro no into mo pass on bulletin no but na de omo demonizing kakra wo hwe the way a se bi ono an ye mma bi ti say Sam George ne Sam Jamfi ne Sankrofo no bi na betena TV so ehoro no na no it beats me because me whom is I political but I don't see why for political difference in tea may coach me political opponent I will be to me Nana is older than my father.
Yeah.
Na me na betena TV so me nam some opportunity no my hand no medina temsa but they did to the point say since you to ebro so ne yira Nanado say ewiabo den na say nkrofo enya ewi chese Nanado enframa bone tumfuto be good dem a Nanado. Now here we are. The fellow say kanu and the Ukraine we shall form fanchami e se muhunu nyansa bi enim then you say I don't blame Felix, I blame the chief of staff and the functionaries within the NDC. More Dr. Callistus Mahama. Is it press secretary to the president?
Yeah, press secretary.
Why is the man not talking? He is a seasoned communicator both in pen and in mouth. Felix in some way or tag I don't expect that Dr. Callistus. He will never come and justify some of these childish infantile talks.
Why is he not talking?
I don't know. Now why would he talk? Because one of these government communication when he ministry now commerce first time MP in parliament.
No. Felix, with all fairness, was indeed spokesperson for President Mahama.
I know, but
during
sometimes I saw dropping.
It's true.
Sorry I say.
Yeah.
And yes, I will drop the woo in the film one can cry. But men say elevating to that extent. I other key players or more because they are high in this right now. Your more political communication. They always assume the position say as I said, no money or money ekasano. Either say ya juni work from and I nyansa work from and I say ya juni cry and I say nyansa ni bi cry because MPP apart from Reverend Tim Fojo, want to say you no pay me kind, me see you so no, you joined a band that was prepared to tear your party down, and because of all religiosity, they be cutting the slack a cry and say suffer. And I don't expect software be as obey or Ghana and African is of say sebi you can to once a man obey change night one day or tranchen. That be definitely be you regional market say yeah because on the Bible man as the church conclude the young upon natural show saying yeah. Me one young upon answer about Uncle Free. And one can see on to us here. But will be anywhere mean Kaiser bon some ebo ni penny. I would defu a cromful give for Munina young upon yan a bow. When young upon yan was a quay. Gain or quack, our mananti. The way a soft sorry to top what now say Ujidian into yen so not dear woman I tayo into no yan shambra and then you will be our memoir.
Because it's not about a soft BGT because both culturally and all we know here no
yeah
Ubi no house so
yeah
you were Muslimi you have
yeah
you were Christianity the Christian fraternity
yeah
you were friend say the Buddhists, if I say minor friends,
small churches.
Had you said that need non-religious people were hasa.
Yeah,
say on a day. The small woman and ninja.
It's true.
This
I know, but who nakoda? Ye tia da na ye nchusoso no. Min kai say traditional authority be e wo mmerebe o masha to say who say independent be afa ne bra ne emfa ne moduam. ana ye ya bra for so monko hwehwea go hwura nkrofo danchi ne ehwese sa nkrofo ne bi wo ha me kai se me nkwada brem ne ye frɛ papa bi wo free me meet my bonedi kwaku ni no nkrofo dwen se o esa ne mane bi obi ehu da so oye bi but o mpanifo do mo so oye bi ana ne nkwada brem and ono so wo se bi wo heda anyo ba na ntenante ye fa ne se oni yire nti no that assumption was there nti utwa de mpoma chikra o ma me ka se kwaku ni frɛ wa adwane and for some reason na man kran so de on fan kom so me kra me kakra me skanda me tifa no ho ye oba o se bi unikunu ana wo yekuna oba wanyi na obe man kan ho no ene de anajo tumi wo ha oni nti na wo dem kwan fa so wura ho no you may never understand because we me mpuma open ene kra se pono so de wo don safa ho kra otumi bie so obi wi ade otumi fa no afa bodies ne toma nyina be ma o onumpo min kai da se community ni true abufuo say ye kono so akochina bebo no dabi we seem to know his problem and he also knows the society is aware of his whatever problem is and it was as a cold war unima obia eheda enkanchiro ye wo meto da me ase yenka se bi we see ndi soroko ana ye bobo park so ba behwe bia ndi ye ma ne ma ho ba wo hwe de nkrofo wi Sam George ne nkrofo ye se wo mo shato wona over so biem kakra na so wo ko anima everything about it is hate. You can see from proponents, no more normal ties are managing for money, Reverend Tim Fojo, Sam George, every opportunity to Benyabiano, so more kasa, as a sebi gay for Unipa. You talk as if say, Omu Granke, Nina radio presenter, metropolitan radio host in the morning, catch say, Sam Crofonde, is so much cranky. This is complete hate. And in this day and age, 21st century, you don't assume that posture because before Kasabi say the ebwa no kumfompo ijaiman aduanedi. I don't support that behavior and I don't claim to understand that behavior, but I also know say not all things are made for us to understand. Over a dentina sebi ubewu nipa na achachashe nechi. It has umi ade. It is a me who's achacha eme time mempe eme year. Mimi enchemra ni nko achacha bia o me mana okọ me bia so we afraid mukum ere yedru untua kampo nipo ama omo ye endangered species in their own community me no free abusua bia o me abusua but a me hanzo Tanzania say infa but I sit here use my small corner and add my voice say that is anti-human. Is the human element in the area. And in any case yehwe on say Christopher na agidifo per se omo wa adwen mi se ono no bone ne de nyam kopon betimi da chen ba wo de ne de o se emera ani wudi
hypocrisy.
It's a hypocrisy. If you say wo mo so Bible mu eswe eswai eche nyankopon say be di no kra ma o man ne ade omo ana de bi omo yeskai so Bible me bo obi aso nyankopon kra ma chi obi antum it is a okofa sank semene ba na eni ho. What was the issue in 2024? Let's say 2020 coming. Wana sebi yo na tumuno ekoso wo hefa eba ye problema NDC for to me struggle MPP for so na nado especially na kofa sa nkurase for mrawi ekoto parliament ya speaker baben minim na kenkan se na se wontumi kenkan o sa den yo also gihini mu ya busa speaker baben o dey free parliament ya na
it's still
15 months yi o te se wo kan gay ho asem bi
no
wan ka se gay no se wodi nin kwa kra o de betwa so ada gay na agene nkwa akohina o de pass o de nin kwa ntwa so a na ye and when the absolute majority, you don't need anything from MPP. Send this for you ready pass it. Sebi you to some how main TSS bra. Some people for chooses on between crap abu to against that. 180 something against 83 there. Change in mind. And this case be no more. 80 or more than 2 anomaho. And bet the penny sabi penny say anoma be. And ne omo bebusa yen say e dey any LGBT. It's evil to lie willingly, knowing full well that is not a priority. And I agree. This stands in this. I've always told you that it is not a menace, first of all. It is not a problem in the country to the point that because there are jail conditions now. So you're convicted gay and now homosexual. You should be jailed in this country. That is so dark. Stone age thinking. I want to state emphatically. You can't get some go for the money see penny bear ma or coffee akwada bear market one. That is not gay. That is defilement and then
sodomy.
Yeah, in fact, sodomy the penino akro sodomy. But penny bia or the sexual advance kwa akra so no. Say your bow say bemo. That one there, a completely out of the law. I can say out of place. I have a child. I don't expect my 12-year-old boy say okwa 1-year-old girl. And no I won't approve. And I may approve say 20-something-year-old boy. MFA me ba or 11-year-old girl. No. So omo adwemi say enam kwada no gay sem no is not towards them kwada no. In fact, okwa America tea na ewo mu no na targeted at kwada. Transgender sem na ewo mu no. Obi was me ba no aso so ba enti no omo do mo sika aboro so enti no no starting doctor ka say na me no de tea no. But LGMB no, L ni a lesbian, B ni a bisexual and a G ni a gay. That three there, we have lived with it since time immemorial. Anything apart from LGB no, ya kane ko nyina no TQ plus nine kwasasem completely to me. Me ntiase de tia metiwe o me kura na me so ba pa. Ba senka matie me de bia ma me anam papa ko eze me ba ne so ba, ma me so pe ba, na okoya me oba. Sa me kumekuno. Because I don't want to be. And I maybe I'm in a dress, and me akra me US kanyina se bi oba me nya bia me pe ba me ankasa de me pasi me bi nankopon momisa. That's my thinking. So where was the problem? Why was it made as if say ya shebra na o man no ebo to the point say mutumi eye fa ho die Kufuado ne busuafo nyina atem some judge be keka kwasa sempi fa Kufuado ho say okotna ne nua be JB baby ho e wo UK na no sa no pa no o ye gay see no Morocco the gay partner. And so what? Does that make Nanado a gay person? No. Now if or any cousin no some judge maybe na me pengu se ba ku nyini when you know me nka se o yakode when you know we 20 something or 28 was it da me oba minim ne ma no de ana me so wanya oba bebe ma ne mo me de I don't have any feelings for my opposite sex. It you know me de this is my partner. That's all no abetwe frying pan achi anwa ahwe agu ba no ho a we live to see. It's evil to lie willingly. It is evil to cook a story that's not there and put it on a person and make it look as if said that person. Omo ya de bi kra be for Baumia. Baumia declare the stance. Stance na me pege no. Must I say it every day? I come and me pege and so what? Pege the end. Obi me pege. But some judge was like, I don't know Baumia say on pa. I don't know one country Kufuado no one sign. As if say Kufuado remote control no to the Baumia ko ya na fans abra be sign na yen ko be because na make you know. Nana omo ada o man no. Minim wo mo agidifo a asofo relol state ne Press Chapel friend say agina sare eno omo Steve Wingham no to was Lincoln for some more abasokra ye Mahama basonye ne here. The economy it's not about the president, it's not about the person GM. And your minor or more than the some a yibimuno. What a problem. And no me that was where I was coming from.
Because if Mahama ye president pen.
Yes.
It's time or not or targeted President Kufuado
yes.
the gayism.
Yeah.
Now all playing the emotions of Ghanaians, the innocence of Ghanaians are most of us, they need him say no president on this day and era can sign that bill.
Yeah.
No president.
No.
Dare to sign
but some judge may president.
He
can do go about it.
We knew this. But the no more prey on the ignorance of others.
Yeah.
And then using the clergy, the church.
Yeah.
Obi President Mahama, why President Payne
knew
very well.
Yeah.
Oh, say this exposure should let us know as Ghanaians say we have gotten to the point say holding the politicians accountable to their words.
Yeah.
Now, instead of President Mahama apologizing, say ideally, I think say I got it all wrong. We already have enough laws. I bet him dealing with the gayism. Now he's turning around to say any priority. You know why? Because after the Lincoln issue, who's about global?
Sure.
When it becomes global, when the global targets you and your country,
meeting come from you.
So Obabeka say any priority. The international community will pick it up in the international media.
Yeah.
So what I say, we are on come one same view. Now Felix is saying, say, President Mahama ni this day here omo pa nemu beda wo monima. Knowing very well what the Felix Bekano, it doesn't hold weight.
Okay.
So what I say, as the President Mahama Beka. President Mahama can they vindicating over the international community.
Yeah.
Now they know across the globe. Say indeed, President Mahama making a stand alone, which is not far different from what Akufo-Addo said.
Yeah.
Indeed, Akufo-Addo can say at this point of time, no,
there's nothing like that.
There's nothing like that.
Yeah.
Who they need to rush for something like that.
He was 100% right.
So translate it and your priority. Because
It's exactly the same.
But the difference was more.
It's exactly the same. That's what I'm saying. Is
I mean, Musa, we ask what was.
Mm.
Make up again the clergy. Were they being hypocritical? Was it about their stomach? Were they being political? But they rather used the gayism as just a small screen. Because there is some George. No, can't Ajinasari or the oil. It goes some George so F45. No, I want to sorry them. Oil is say anani ana da. Oil the da.
That's it.
Because when Musa.
Boy, you see it on where? I'm going to me.
Oh, you know the good reverend friend say Ajinasari.
Yeah.
Or the good some George. No oil na da. Omi na young copy budgets no from man. No from good so no already innovate now on some fat build them bra.
Yeah. Nane, CJ. I said, my meaning can find President Mahama position, you know. We say, well, a former president, he knows the terrain, he should know better, and I agree with you 100%. That is why what I say, the omuye around this subject, you know, is complete evil. They knew they were just deceiving whoever believed them, say, or more problem be an answer, or more course be to. Now they don't have more passing bill, no. Who in parliament said no? 275 no. Yeah, and Mekaipa. Both sides,
but the clergy,
yeah,
indeed, almost say they all what ought to be there.
Yeah,
Obaka monitor church members. Yes.
Clergy now would say, you know, ignorance count. Most clergy, they don't read it. The Bible,
not the case.
Oh, they may buy dozen, but I mean,
okay.
First of all, most of them read in the kind of Japan to read my lips. Most of them are ignorant. They don't read. They don't listen to news. They are the documentary clergy. Say Usubem Pamnamoi or Kosoni data. I heard documentary be about space for 45 minutes. No, one thing simple. Lawrence said the name Ajinasari more ya crachifui. I tell you, well, around the ministry, no or music sem now on the Hoyako to bank and they will think about it. And Gunyaben aircraft by microphones in any band and they will think about it. Say or transi no share the Bebo society. And Brian on want to Macas be a board society. They be a beloved, a precious one, and God's people. And I mean, most of them are ignorant. We must sorry for that, but sorry, but I'm more post for a Catholic because Catholic priest over. I'm going to school in over 6 years. Yeah, that's a medical school, and the stages soon. That's all Kobaya and one. Obi who be a school girl, also a prophet. Obomo ye Methodist for near the idea, quite after 3-4 years, where we walk around Kobu, or be declared in a copy. So ignorance is there. A lot of them are ignorant. And sometimes we have to also come to understand, say, easy say soft food bit me gina bontia beka say me fa ho ana say me foaso op ebi kura na go fa ho ebi nso kura so a enka ofoaso but ontumi ma bontin me ka say me fa ho ana me foaso. Why? Because the general assumption is that Kamia said that brebone we are na gay pa na nyankopon chiri kura. Me, I don't believe that, because the woody ekoso de bia Obama, Osama bin Laden, bomb America. There's no Christian country bigger or stronger than America. Yanko point to me, Uncle Whisper country will be. I say, Professor Mugo baby, go on to me soon. Diane country will be. Yanomon Namha, oh yeah, so see that's the friends, speak a chief imam, Papaya 300 years. Who are kind of one say, no, the Monuma Bassina, Miasuman is Omeka. MP before Kotom internal lesson. Oh, Bernard. One no packing can't tell me or trouble kunina. And so for whatever reason, Bernard was so convinced by God, his God, to come and tell us, say, can Japan about 20 day and Kobunkum and Kunifa were winning by this margin. We had Thanksgiving before election. We also at a Yankopon, and Yankopon didn't send anybody about Yankopon can Japan, Baumiane, when he be a D, and some of course Israel and Iran. Or sacrifice our problems, so I can say, what can Yankopon, or no, maybe. You You see my point? So ignorance ka ho ene ma omo kwan ma Sam George ma no Africa no aware tata ma wo hyase no na menye so kra no family man sa e ba be kire ye hwede om to so proper sexual blah 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 blah. It is complete nonsense. And everybody sabi or some level of humanity in him no ehunu anase wo te omo a hwefo mo ni wo yo free Africa so ye osu baby wo ha ye he street for eko wo mu because omo no dwen se omo we fi.
Yeah, Tanzania.
Omo tan Nyankopon na ye ne sa bibini de se nka wo tuntum awa ye ofri awani nyina
ye say so omo supernatural powers be meska
etumi ye duro ti wo ye ko ayan tompo.
Yeah.
Wo kwa ayanta ho na so be hia kokwa wo beto akokko no omo Tanzania fo no ade ba chine akuni pa na dem fitine wo tutu pass ya oye ofri ntino wa ko hwa busan fo kwa negotiation ama ye here to high fight. This man was everywhere. If you simply talking, I don't care. I don't care one bit about him. Because his position there, and not there, to me, not imagine here. Because I haven't like, I say, when it was a takrat chautua, yeah. But he thinks he's a lawyer, and so, and if he's a believer, he or not the Lord quite ordered to change because lawyer Papa bien or Befas Assam we are kind of the way almost see a canon. Or to no lawyer to train, and find a believe part, no, and be did the atema, one on a matrumu, which we born on radio so because apart from one no be cancer, near can LGBT, gay, sexual, and lesbian, and a pay and we flew in the binny and a tantai and a trumu and no cancer. Offer a motrumu, no be added in a bone. And no mu, be one and no but no be out in a bone. Sabi my no mukoi obani ha I can't be unfair to women but baby I'm doing say hokra kama no and so never fa ho a ndu kwase nipa nka ukoguro ho. You get my point? It wo bucket ye fia na uni so.
What's your point? Akwasi mintiase.
Oh say hygiene there emfa gender ho.
Okay.
Sorry I say.
Sure.
Emfa gender ho and na no say obu ho a no so no Christian wife and husband to Anumu fear, and not fear and go foot me fear 1 hour, he said foreplay. Oh no, what's that? Say on Tafren, you don't know all the fin and no, and go for crowd to no man quasi or no see or no, or so. But so pa, and my bonte make us say, I no fear yet. It is Yansha Brandy and Blanny, I can young Barney, I no fear. Nay, Obi Crat make us say, I yes, or banner the home walk down so. Now, yes, staff of Rubia, Yanko Pompe. What's a Christopher to me, a pretty said doggy, a more. Nina, to me say, I drink woo. That's I don't know what form and answer who and answer the panel around head or Miasa power about said or the Yansan to baby and or the GDA episode just said you the Yansan. But people do that. Up to me, both Jawa Bonting as a crusade, no Jim microphone horns, no can go as soon will be our pompo or Betty, but some can all the Bobra. Look, we are raising global citizens right now. Maybe Minumi and the Yanakwan be into Bangra, dear Chibe, offer a bear on myself, Babetan or China. From Quebec phones. But eventually they will go and meet and stay. Yenia, Tituano, Chinchina, Chichamuda Damba, Kumuno, or your Banatia, or Enajuma, or Bano or China, and also Enajuma, or Bako, and now obey some you, as no Montra Feda. The world is changing in many ways here. Odrin said, won't it hear the Mauno? Said, I never translate money near. But any
talk of China.
Yes.
So the China Bemwa, we all know China with their cultural. Their preservation, they really hold it dear.
Yeah.
In fact, for close to decades, centuries, nothing has changed much in terms of cultural practice in China. Globalization is there. But I don't know yan two ye GDNA near ye nim say a mamre no.
Why is it to GDN to train? Obiangas will be Anthony GDN to train. The fact say, or minor. Any sebi a time and as or mining for the need enkudi sankrof when in JJ Ujidi no or minus in who.
Well, silence means consent.
Wait, we are not silent. Ujidi for no dear or maka from time Moria. Said to Musamunye or Bano or Banshia, Yanko Panyanesa, but it is always happening. And mind you,
okay, say it is always happening, and I say till creation I exist. Because looking at Bible, Sodom and Gomorrah fight in this.
It's about 6,000, almost 7,000 years ago.
Mami Musa, Reading the Bible, no. Yes, yes, you mean I saw Sodom and Gomorrah. So what happened?
And then Mama no one go free by. From there because of England, no, and our London especially, no, and yes, and New York. These are the gay capitals of the world. New York and London. New York City, I mean. Say Yankopon am bombe wo mu mienu ese de we na ese Yankopon kopa Sodom and Gomorrah for chew. Because then there ukọ London na Anglican so for to me ware bema. Omo mu mienu nyina wa so dem. There was some European leaders bi a ne partner eye bema. Ah, European leader. I say Finland or so. Ah, no o said the president ba na the Lord na chi no. Ono so kwa na ne kunu bema edi na chi a state no agina enye kunu ne de wo ye ne dem o say e bi ne say nye bi ne hia o man no. Ye electricity na agina so no. Ya kwa na de no university na ye ko free no. Hospital na obi atumi ko free no. Adan kama na isi a oni pa hu nya so kwa top plot na akọ han breach akọ han we akosi dan na isi wodada eno kra won to at once utinam na utwetwa na kakra aka no eno enti na omoto sa aba na ma no. Are you following? Now we are no be true. Now we betuma akoka we o Saudi Arabia. It's a fair point. No be true. We betuma akoka we o China. It's a fair point. No be true. We betuma akoka we o Russia. It's a fair point. Offer. What is lacking? The knowledge that is lacking in here is that China system no, Saudi Arabia governance system no, any sa countries no mo di try empo no. On fan compare Ghana system no. Democracy. Democracy simply means say majority must rule, but minority interest should be protected. Don't say majority say 275 no more parliament na 70 year kan. Dodo na no democracy mo ye ene e beye. Eno so nche say ye ni ketwa na ya ampene no emumeto mom tore ase. Senegal is winning go make my parliament people vote from anywhere. But that's not how the game is played. That democracy my no. Why the bet my bejira bonten say of me dem ye gay. Enti no mende say mo mpo ye ba be gay party e wo Jakubu abonten so. Hwan no. But say koso see e be democracy ya ye dia. Ede de so ka so we gay party a wo pa menko ho enko hwebi. So mo me yire wo sa chenchina abra be hwebi. Na emom say wo ka say wo mpene so ntino chenchina achi ye ko no kofa police for me say mu no de. You may be questioned. Are they killing human beings there? Are they harming other people there? If they are not, and they are in a mutual agreement, let's say in a confined area, you have no business going to call authorities on them. In a democracy, you may but don't have a bit of me abechino. A chino kotumi we na so ba bontino nya lawyer papa. Wow, me abechino no. Ubutum so search on back. Aboka aha okra de okwa ubedemache as no no dear. This is the kind of reasoning or see a day ebeka ye ho ebio. China hono da be na tese ya to aba president foforo ba kono wu ya we ba no se no so ko be 20 years old.
Yeah.
Russia,
Vladimir
Saudi Arabia. What is Saudi Arabia? My put a tab on vote for me da. The tika ye hai baby abeku bia na hinsem ho e na nka o man no ye na nanom dia e na amanyosem fo wo mu a amanyoni be pa na e ba na nanom abeka che o say si ade mpasa me de BBC e ba o mamu a you couldn't. Ya tumia throw ya to ya chidada enye LGBT we na ebe crash your system na nyina ye wo bia otumi fa na tro konkro be nyina bonten edi ye hinatem abra David wonu ni da ofre wono ohene David a wodwen se wo ba bewu akoba bi ohene David tie ene agya Abraham tie ene na kodidi na ne hene tie od na etwapia ada ye wo se ohene na kogunsa na nyankopon wa wote soro na on papetese no ohene na igunsa no ada na nyankopon amaje kansen glass na Antoine na ono don no nam so odi jonti akofa saa quotation ba ko bia begina Bantima High Street, Krofrom High Street, whatever High Street wa book crusade ajenko fodbo na odi authority bi ekasa etumi di dimpanifo nyina atem because ono ndwen se ne gidie no e ma ne saa tumi no. Look, untumi koye saa gidie sem no China yenye crusade. What I say ha wo de answer obenya Bantima Presby Park na wo answer wori no. Authorities must come in and even give you permission before you do some of these things. Adam CHIDI akoye crusade bi okwan so block okwan no makra ekwan. It means no authority was informed about what he was going to do, and afterwards no parliament made the man. We who dare you? Now we your crusade now be catch be crusade. Utumi crusade rally now traffic catch. Yedim yes o mampanyi betwam now no man pe be amfa o car to me the one more riders in dispatch riders to me the king crash show na so pai wa hwe enko baby. I want to tell you that the kind of democratic system now here running there, we may not win these cultural emotional arguments simply because you think you are different. If you are different, this that you are practicing it's no respecter of person. Or give you equal human rights to everybody. And unti first it's what you crop to me bono. I hear you. Bene, what you crop na abona. Krono no ye twemu. Na wo bra obro no so ye twem. Ye be kan krono sem no. Na wo so bra obro no so yaka. Wa hwe amuiru nyanam kwa kodem. Na saka wo ya de pa wo. Wo kire ne say ademo na oye no. Bo onye bio. Onyankopon na nkasa no. Me Kristo ni kakra. Ba bi atete me wo say emma hwiti no ene chaff no. Enyini mbom na otwafo no na nyankopon ammo bia se wo na yitwafo dikutwa me diko yiwe mfrim na ma we mu wo wa ko ka do ta se mo kan wo se nam se woni afira na wonim dia wo yenti no wa hwe ya obekwa kodo wheat no mu kra egu na woja engura no mu asiwo ni wa na wo so kodo ngura. And the UK and US omo learning this lesson bitterly. At a point they had a system where they thought say gave for yare into no systems no chew say we gay and the kwan bia so no o se ye boa no healu e omo ye kunkum kofo bi kwa so wo 50 pound note a is it 50 or 100 guy ma me da so mfen Alan Turing UK for castrating no bi chemical castration hormonal nema bi simply because the guy was helplessly gay. In fact he had a female partner but omo no ho no partner no hu say akwa me nda hide ase obi ni nua because me no ho nyama kono me ho nya wono no kra akono wonso me mu wonya me hwe. Na so yonko be maba ahodin bi ode ye no etino ojan se Elton John obonwum o ware pen o ware be 1 year kra oba na ka se John dabi koride woni je ho e no ojan man koy. Imagine if they had killed Elton John. Can you my na kente? Imagine if they had killed Tim Cook look oye ofu e kitawi enne oye CEO of Apple. So umpege some no mo yabon some na de dia wa okita iPhone, iPad, Mac, ni MacBook na de nyina kototwene because nipa na oye no oye gay ni kunu eye be ma ono neti da sorry oni baba kokura ono kwa de won ware be akra da oye gay news ya oye hu yin ni CNN for ni nkrofo mo ye hu om TV so dodo na ye gay oba ya me hwe news no dum no na kotena ba bi na dwene. Look, we have a lot to learn and I am hoping say the nanado kind no when the time comes nobody can stop gay from coexisting, peacefully coexisting in this country. You may not like them, but you can't do anything about them. Why? Because majority, you have your way, but minority interest should be protected.
Because you shared your views, and I couldn't agree more with your views. But that being said, generally, what is good for the goose
is good for the gander.
Good for the gander. Politically speaking, in this country, looking at the stance, it looks like you have a lot of time with this topic. I didn't want it that way, but because of most of the things now was share, was your personal view, which I agree with it mostly. But being fair to previous government and looking at how they were lambasted for say indeed there were propaganda being thrown out across the bill has been passed and they've been transmitted to the president and the president did not sign. In fact, the palace known very well said the position now one any mumbrana wa Ghana hapa still saying say President Akufo-Addo sign sambrana. You see, almost say we are the kitu bi ya ya charge you for causing fear and panic misinformation. They keep a friend say peddling misinformation. But I say, knowing very well, say indeed the law was never transmitted to the office of the president.
Never got to the president.
Now, coming back to my question again, civil society, the clergy, the role we play prior to the election, 2024 election, and most people, can say, okay, and yeah, do me to me in this crampona, I will rebel against my party, me to Obama. Okay, a business so tweet I say, indeed, don't sign there, me tweet ya won't say, gay the mempe. To be fair with such people, do you think say the clergy and the civil society say so for no more hypocrite? So what I say, I'm talking in terms of like na course or putting your personal views aside. Are we being fair to Nanado? No. And then are they being critical of President Mahama enough to let him know say indeed this is not what we voted for?
Okay, 2 questions. First answer. No, Nanado has been very badly treated. Honestly, you know, come up and also the sabro from Metaka. Benefo said the one said the Nanado nti MPP for si Mahama between 2012 to 2016 no and who akatua na bi no nyae it na ngaza no say no he has the tough skin for that. I'm not sure that Nanado is bothered by any of the accusations and finger pointing and name calling say Sankrofono e de no nyina. Nana is one body, one person. He seems to know the game. I mean, but it was a Nana for Instratekum.
Yeah.
So it's
but
unfair.
On a repeal this criminal libel law.
He's one. Yeah. Oh, wait. Sometimes I say, so. Nana will go down as one of the finest politicians we have had in our country. Even though there are a lot of things I was expecting him to do, Bema baby, now so far, Mahama bit my kwaba 20 times. On to me, Panonto to Nanado. There was so many things, and this may not agree to this, but it's a fact. Where a bit more about term strategy. Strategy simply means to think far. It is very transactional, and the SCA anything near solve. Why, come on, I saw but to be the obey, no. What you say, I say at the pa. Oh no, it's it values of time. So don't let me elucidate Nanado too much and go forward with the attempt. But he has been very badly treated. But I think it comes with the territory. That's how, unfortunately, their politics has turned to. I'm sure maybe after him too, that kind of behavior from there. Fine. That is second question. I really believe for sa a troya NDC for try at the bar by muno. Omon from Hunikwa. Actual payment no come up on in your mind. And it may not be JM himself and Obesofa. The party na Kasano. A time will come unless they develop some they are now winning more souls. They develop some communication strategy. A bit more to me winning. That's a pair pan and this bit my catcher say after the game win here. I'm a wow woman answer what you do. What you know. What I say? I want to believe maybe a lot of people are waiting because the best you can do is to vote against the government. Don't mean what you will be to me. Now, say still as I'm George TV so. Still as some Jamie. Only say we go so. Or no, Kofa, Galancio, Bear 10, and Cobra, dear, no one dear bad TV so could you know here, And the sanction now, yes, and no Huska, and would your wife for come. But I could try to dominate. Bibia ni wa wiase said the Yankopon bo ni wiase no so we gidi ni there's always comeuppance at some point here. I think say ebeba untumi ehudweke muka the hoodwink the entire country, lead them, and then we turn around as the one time gonna na meboa well if it must be fi see na kwemu but don't just say that chow obi akose and so far nobody is speaking any sensible thing around LGBT who is from the NDC. That's why the pastors cannot speak. They have been made fools by politics. I don't know, Dr. Lawrence said at TV so nah, and the president, and and the president. No, Dr. Lawrence said we saw who is a march at Jubilee House. Okay. He wanted to lead Christian pastors to the Jubilee House, Ekufuado, and Kosan Bill. Bill no, and Mahama, Uncle, he doesn't need to march. Or run it, he must run alone because no pastor will follow him because nobody. I mean, say, oh man, who MU Sua, and my bontin mekano yaya. Debi America, Mrs. Bema, we're boa, why my bontin mekano be. And as old so we read my bones one, and go can talk about bontin. I have a boa will be as well. Now, I know head them now, obey Abumasum, now my bontin meka, and I'm a metadame as I make say, and rapa me refer masuma of a better what. You get my point? In the most more, it's not like everybody was quiet and silent. No, there were some discerning voices who were telling you, even legal brains, who were saying everything about the law or that so-called draft is wrong. First of all, it's so much anti-human rights, and in this day and age, no sane society will condone that. Oh, no, society, Senegal, yebi. Oh, Uganda, yebi. Come on, man. And so what? Open maybe a quiet example of Senegal and Uganda. Look, yang sekeye boy braya. we are betting for no money see what Ghana. Omo edo India and Ghana differently. About 3 places here. Britain for no. Omo respect no to those natives no. Was Ashanti because of Ashanti Ponti.
Yes.
Ghana
In fact, most of our governance structure was learned from here.
Yeah.
I have said there was Sana Hene as finance minister.
Yeah.
There were most of it.
Yeah. Oh, I don't president. Boy Scout.
Yeah.
They learned Boy Scout from here. Papa no can sa Sagrenti war no. Or share strategy. Those days, some 150, 200 years ago, Asante for school some more they are the military strategy. And so you did native wisdom. It means this uncle for the face now. They felt say we have to groom children from like that because Asante Ford do not write and document, but they are able to plan and strategize in such a way say it is very hard to defeat them. So you hearing me say me see from Serbia and the kingdom no Ebeya. Enka they will never win the war. Best they cause Iran and now Vietnam. One na be kwan wa be na was an maneko. You get my point. So what exactly is on the table? Utumi adia wa unim say entisa unim me catch obi a say the NDC for kano say President Mahama when abayi kura na emra no ontumi san otu oh eno de omo kan de bi ni mu afra me kasa kwasi kan yo o true na we be kan na
yeah
otimpa kwasi makwasi o kan yo o kan so ontumi am ma yeni skana na yense mfiri fipa mu na mo fa yese yetebi yeni mu nyansa eso oduma nkoma ya wode Yesu ba ono aso de ball mi o eti adwene de o my kakra fine Sam George opamiento aba Sam George my president in there he will never cough about LGBT because Sam George wants to attend UN meetings, he wants to be included in G8 meetings, G20 meetings. These people will not invite you knowing the way you push thinker because omo no mtete dem o na oba meeting no do na again bia.
Yeah, and then looking at even Omo era you crampo, they are in better position to have even signed because
what is stopping them?
Trump crampo you will be
also
you see his stance is literally against LGBTQ.
Yes. But
crampo there, you are in a better position
Trump
to have signed because Akufo-Addo was dealing with Biden, who is a Democrat.
Yeah.
And indeed, Democrats will not allow you.
He was a hypocrite.
Have a peace of mind if you go against anything like gays. They were really tight cornered.
Yes.
Saying factor. And then to finish this up, then we go to the next topic. And I will say as my fight or my and as a nipa will be as and you can say a certain point in time will be ideology and I will be belief.
Yes.
It's me. There was a point I saw be say TV cry on America. And then I saw now a U10.
Almost TV station.
There was a point I saw be say in fact who cry about my bladder.
And
in fact at some point me now because of blood in tea. Now church members say run shift one. So what I say because nipa na that hospital the family nyina nkosa sorry ni.
Okay.
So omunim say church ni free no ho a the wishes no obusuafo no be override.
So they had to stand.
So they had to run a shift on the old lady. So no mutimi stand on the wishes of the old lady say now sorry okwasi me anji mojendi. And I already say mutimi store wa moja aja. Ma wo be 5 years I sorry be san be U10.
Yes.
Akoka say oh he say the utimi jibo.
Oh oje omoje o.
Enti na satan no mo anje nyina mo wu sebi nkwase awu. Ana satan na de wo TV so I say me hwe TV wa wan hwe no. E bia hwe ya ka benya adesua bi de aba obra no. Na life as you. So moment let's listen to our inner being and know say Nyankopon boy and say so. Ade Nyankopon pese o ka kire bi obe ka kire. Onko kan kire one individual bi say on na sebi on ko na wa so. Nti obe ka kire say ko ka kire oni pa say wenye say. That being said,
as you say, obia be ka kire say Nyankopon say a oboa.
Oni telephone number bi on the friend. Tell us in through heaven.
Oboa.
So